All right, so it's a great morning, no doubt about that. We are delighted to welcome you to this episode of Global Morning. I'm Uyag for saying again, we are grateful for your time.
Morning.
Good morning, Priscilla.
Yeah, so it's been,
Couple of days, right?
a couple of days on the show. Yeah, and I'm so excited to be here again today. Yeah.
Yes, I am as well. Of course, Priscilla looks quite, well, should I say, elegant this morning. I don't know how she got around this combo, but it makes a lot of sense. You can't say it's Western, you can't say it's all the way African, so just somewhere in between.
Yeah, we're trying to blend in.
Yeah, and the blend is working, quite frankly. It is working. But then it's, I mean, the week is gradually crawling to a weekend. And you know what they say about weekend? They say great weekend begins on a Friday.
Yes, TGIF.
Yes.
Friday.
And a while ago, somebody was saying, if we're in Lagos, it would be a different kind of conversation we're having, because you're looking forward to the weekend, to party, unwind and do things away from work, basically.
Yeah, somebody was suggesting that, Lagos be made a different country. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, it feels that way, really.
Yeah, it looks like everything happens in Lagos. It's like a different world.
Right.
Yeah, people coming from Lagos into Abuja, have the whole notion, this place so calm, cool, quiet, and all of
Things
that.
move really
They're
slow.
always shocked, and I'm like, why are you guys shocked? I mean, they drive through the roads and
Right.
they are shocked. It's not the same kind of experience they have over there in Lagos. So, I mean, it's all fun in Lagos, but someone like me, I don't know if I can stay in Lagos. I've tried it.
It didn't work.
It didn't work.
Did you run away?
I had to run away from Lagos because, man, it's crazy there, man. It is. It's.
I totally agree. So I was born and raised in Benin City, by the way, of course, proud old boy. But I also had the same observation, all right, with people who came from Lagos. So you have cousins, friends, other relatives who come from Lagos to visit. Some of them maybe to even stay for the longer term. But within the first few days, they realize we don't belong here.
Yeah.
Next morning you wake up, bags are packed, and they're on the road.
Yeah.
I think there's these Lagos elements, and there's a way it changes everything about you. I mean, your whole being, how you think, your perspective, your outlook, on the world and things like that. They say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. But I think they were actually referring to Lagos. Because the life in Lagos is such that it just kicks innovation and creativity into your brain. You have to be proactive. This morning I was driving to work with a neighbor, and we're just talking about Lagos life, how that when you live in Lagos, you just have to learn some things independently. You learn how to monitor traffic. You need to figure out what lane is busier at what time of the day. When should I leave my house for a certain area in Lagos? When should I be heading back home? You have to calculate all of these things. So it's almost impossible to have somebody who is mentally slow in Lagos, because you just have to, keep your head above the waters.
Yeah, and there are some people that can never cope in Lagos. We all have different personalities. I feel like there are some personalities that can never cope in a place like Lagos. Anyways, it's a beautiful city. It is. Right,
but let's enjoy Abuja, federal capital, while we're here, because whether you like it or not, we need to be grateful for not just the day we've been blessed with, but again, the environment that we have to live in, because it is what we have. At this point, Global Morning, as always, promises to be very interactive and, of course, very engaging today. We have two big conversations lined up. We'll let you in on those after this short break. Please stay with us. Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
One of the things we're looking at on the program today is the, well, I don't want to call it the chaos, but the protests, actually in series that we have seen in Nepal, far away in Asia, and because of the week. Many people say the authorities never saw it coming, or at least they never had the slightest idea how it was going to boomerang and just metamorphose into what it has now become. That conversation is ongoing, no doubt about it, but quite frankly, it has, if you like, reshaped the narrative about how citizens respond to governance in any part of the world. It's not just exclusive to Nigeria. I mean, this is even far away from Africa, all right? But for many people, it's reminiscent of an event of almost 5 years ago, the NSAS here in Nigeria, which started as, well, some kind of protest against police brutality, but it turned out to be something that, I mean, a movement demanding for government to reform in many areas somewhere down the line. Of course, October 2020 is something that most Nigerians have not forgotten in a hurry, because that was actually the climax of the NSAS protest, which some people call NSAS movement. By the way, but in all of this, it's a reminder of how that there is a thin line between when citizens see government in the positive lights, when they think otherwise about their government. And because in Nepal, again, there's a history to this whole thing. First of all, government had banned about 24 social media platforms, saying that, look, these guys need to establish offices in Nepal. They have to have compliance frameworks in place and what have you and all of that. But for a country where you have young people all over the place, just like you have in Nigeria, for instance, most of them, including businesses, depending largely on social media platforms, all right, to advance their legitimate causes, it's only natural that you see such a response. And today, the carnage and the damage are unquantifiable.
Yeah, I think all of this just stems from the place where we still have do I call them the elders sitting on positions? They don't understand the realities of today. Yeah, to an extent. They see the Gen Zs, they have not been able to enter into their world. You know, they are still somewhere in their own world and not understanding the world. So they don't know how they don't know how their actions can trigger these young people. Banning social media is a lot for the Gen Z. That is all they know. That's what they were born into. That's the reality they know. That is where they have seen as their source of income and all of that. But for you, that is not you don't understand their world. You will not understand the reality of what you are doing to them, because you can go make your money somewhere else. We have offices. We have our own traditional way of doing our businesses that we know. But for them, it is not the same.
Right.
You get so when we have government officials and these people trying to meddle into businesses like this or into their world, that, as I would call it, they need to be very careful. Social media is such a powerful tool right now, and they have not understood the power of social media. That's what I see. So it's like a generational clash. Yeah, generations coming together, clashing and seeing things from different perspectives. For elders, it's important for them to learn, relearn, grow.
And unlearn.
Yes, and unlearn, exactly, and unlearn. If we don't unlearn, it will be difficult for us to blend in generations, into another generation and like that. I just feel like that's the reason, that's the cause of all of this clash that is going on in Nepal. And of course, like you said, it's not just a Nepal thing. It's something that we have seen play out in some other African countries. Right,
including Kenya, for example.
Yes, and it's not going to go anywhere soon until these people realize that, okay, we need to sit, we need to rethink, we need to, come to a consensus, we need to understand these people, we need to sit around the table with them, we need to discuss, we need to get into their world. I mean, that's just the way forward for me. Yeah.
There's a factor that stands out for me for what you said. All right, the term was blend. There has to be that, if you like, seamless transition or some sort of nexus, all right, across generations.
Yeah.
No generation is necessarily more important than the other generation, because the generation that has gone ahead actually paved the way for the generation coming from behind. They've done the groundwork, they've laid the foundation. And the generation coming from behind is going to take over from the one that is already up ahead. All right, so that in itself is very critical. And the generation in between is more like the intersection, all right, between both generations, the one ahead and the one behind. Therefore, we must understand, where are we as it stands today? If as a president, as a governor, as a parliamentarian, whether at the local, state or federal level, you're still thinking in 2025 the way you did in 1997, 1991, 2002, when Obasanjo was doing his first term as part of the Fourth Republic, it means you've got a lot of catch-up to do, because you have no idea how much things have actually evolved the last couple of years. I was just reflecting before bedtime yesterday how that, as a young boy, I used to work in a cyber cafe, and it was a big deal because everybody had to go to a cyber cafe to be able to access the internet. Just to open google.com, just do a small research, just know the population of, let's say, Ghana. You had to go to a cafe because you didn't have internet access in your house. At that point, some persons had never even touched a mouse. So you would have to, by all means, find your way to the nearest cyber cafe. You buy a ticket printed on a paper. Sometimes you had to queue behind somebody to use the system after they had done, things like that. I mean, it was quite a very rigorous process to even set up a cyber cafe, because most of the internet service providers were not even in Nigeria. In fact, in some cases, they were not even in Africa. So it was an era, it was a phase in our evolution. But today, people can almost snap fingers and have access to the internet. So if at this point I'm still thinking the way I did back in the day, it means I have not moved. It means I have not transitioned. It means I have not evolved. And if that is the case, sadly,
you need to go to the television station now to speak out. You have your phones with you, and you can just say how you feel. And then you see something happening, in your neighborhood. You can actually report from where you are.
With facts.
Yes, with facts. Facts. Information is not at the fingertip of almost every single person. And you need to be very up to date, like we are just establishing now, to be able to control these things, use the best knowledge, the best technology whatsoever to control it. It is not by fighting it, it is by learning, it is by growing, and being able to curtail it, like we are just saying.
Well, quite a number of things to talk about regarding this issue, but we have a second discussion today that will bring the conversation closer to home. Politics, of course, it never ends, all right? But let's take a quick break, everyone. When we return, we'll bring you newspaper headlines.
Nupeng Dangote deal collapses. Should we say this is a sad one? What do we look forward to? The Nupeng Dangote crisis has been, on for a while.
Right.
We hope it comes to an end soon. Let's go to the next story there, and that is from Ansaru leader jailed for 15 years, and you find that on page 34 of the Daily Trust paper. The next story there, INEC shortlists ADA 13 others for political party registration. Okay, this is good news for these political parties. The big story here is on 2027 elections, Jonathan meets Obi. There has been a rumor about Jonathan, Obi, PDP for a while. Well, finally Jonathan is meeting with Obi. Let's see what plays out from that meeting. The next story here is on floods, and it says flood hits Abuja City, Katsina local government. I saw on social media yesterday, and someone was talking about, I think it was around Mitama Axis. He said some cars were swamped in water there. I don't know. Yesterday, flooding. Yes, flooding. Yesterday, rain was a bit. It was a lot yesterday with the weather, and we had the rain falling from morning till sometime around, I think, 1 p.m. It was at
a point. It's abated in some parts of of Abuja, while it was still raining heavily in other parts. Then for some parts, it was just a bit of drizzle here and there. But for those of us who had no other option, we had to defy the rain.
You're reading Kubwa from morning, from about 7 a.m. to
about 1 p.m.
2 p.m. thereabouts.
Wow, that was quite an extended period.
It was an extended rainfall. So the next story here, it says new tax laws will raise airfares, and that is from operators. Well, it gets interesting every day in Nigeria with the price hike and everything. The next story says 2 vigilantes shot hours after killing of 3 police officers in Kogi State. That is on page 8 of the Daily Trust. And finally, we have the last story here saying Ghana receives Nigerian deportees. Others, and I'm wondering why Ghana is receiving deportees, Nigerian deportees. Why are they not sending them to Nigeria? Why are they not deporting them to Nigeria?
I think that's why our viewers will need to read those details for themselves, even though we know Ghana is just a brother next door.
Yeah, so, let's go to the next paper. And
that will be the Nation newspaper. Yeah. All right, so thank you, Priscilla. Let's turn to the Nation newspaper for you now. Well, here we have just immediately beneath the nameplate, top left corner, picture of the Vice President, Kashif Shettima there. It says BOA's 250 billion naira for smallholder farmers. The writer says VP orders fast track. All right, that's Bank of Agriculture's 250 billion naira for smallholder farmers. From what we're hearing, the last few days in particular, it's very clear that the federal government is doubling down on efforts to drive food sovereignty, or what we call food security in Nigeria. All right, 54.9 trillion naira 2025 budget goes into effect. Efficiency is goal. That's the rider with that headline. FCCPC recovers 10 billion naira for cheated consumers. Banking most affected. The chief executive of the Federal Consumer Protection Council has his picture right there against that headline. And then it takes us to the star headline this morning, still on the front page of the Nation newspaper. INEC clears ADA 13 others to apply for registration as political parties. Meeting kickstarts process next week. 157 applicants fail to skill hurdle. So at the last count, we had 14 entities now in line to become political parties. Appeal Court asks Chief Registrar to sell escrow crude belonging to GHL others in FPSO Tamara Tokini. That's actually a case, a matter which has been legal tussle between a business entity belonging to Chief Unduka Baigbena and First Bank. All right, so lastly, we look at the headline just on the foots of the front page of the Nation newspaper. Says Brazilian ex-president guilty of coup plotting. Nupeng Dangote clash again. Those details are on page 7. You know, the DSS had a brokered peace between Dangote Refinery and the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, Nupeng, just a few days ago. But today we understand that arrangement has collapsed. So what happens going forward? Well, read up details on page 7 of the Nation newspaper and catch some insight. Let's turn to the Vanguard, where Priscilla has those headlines for us.
All right, so on the Vanguard paper this morning, there is a first story here, just before, the nameplate there. There is First Bank wins appeal in landmark case against Unduka Obegana's General Hydrocarbons Limited. Then, to the paper proper, we have ex-Eagles demand NFF board quits if Nigeria fails to qualify. And then there are two writers there. The first one says, entire NFF board must go, says Mikel Obi. Olise blames Super Eagles poor run on foreign coach. Okay, I don't know why this is coming up, but I believe that these ex-players are angry. They are not happy with what is happening, the turnout, of the football. What do I call it now? Anyways, let's see what comes out of that. Well, we want to make sure that we win, right? It's important for me to fly the flag. The next story here says that is Ghana receives Nigerian, West Africa deported by US. So US is deporting and we're sending Nigerians to Ghana, and I'm still wondering why. Then the next story on P27 says Dangote Nupeng bicker over alleged breach of pact reached at DSS headquarters. Okay, just below we have the next story. ADC leadership battle to remove Mark Arebeshola continues on Monday. Interesting. Well, Nigerian politicians can never cease to amaze me. They are just, anyways, I want to say they are the same. Like it's like they don't change. They are so predictable,
regardless of the political affiliation.
Exactly, the political affiliation, the age, they are just predictable. Like the other day, we saw the ADC coming together, to join forces to be able to remove the leading party, the ruling party, and now there is already crisis in the party. The party has not even come to stay yet. Anyways, I believe this is supposed to sound as good news for APC.
That's right.
Candidate. So let's go to the next story here. That says Jonathan receives Peter Obi. Peter Obi has come out to say that he has been advised by his doctor to stay out of social media to rest. But then, how come he's meeting Jonathan on his sick leave? Do we call it sick leave?
Well, they say the leopard can't change its skin.
Okay, so is this...
Some say the leopard can't change its spots.
Is this a comeback? Is this to say, okay, I'm back to social media?
Maybe it's a subtle return.
A subtle return. Yeah. Oh, this is a good return. It's a good round to return. Okay, the next story here is saying, citing interest of justice, a court asks Chief Registrar to sell and crude belonging to GHL, Cornell, and MPCL in FPSO Tamara Tokini. Okay, so I believe that's all from the Vanguard papers this morning. Let's go to the next paper, and that's the Guardian. And
great. Guardian, it says, well, let's start from the headlines above. Just beneath the nameplate, top right first, with the picture of President Bola Tinubu. Implementation of 2025 budget begins in September, says FG. Banks FMCG customers top FCC PCs 9,091 complaints, 10 billion naira recovery. All right, that's banks and fast-moving consumer goods customers top FCPCs 9,091 complaints and 10 billion naira recovery. INEC rejects 157 applications, clears ADA 13 others for registration. Those details are on page 4 for you. The Guardian today. Open defecation crisis worsens, threatens 2030 sanitation targets. You have those details on page 6 of The Guardian. Meantime, as is always the case, The Guardian has beautifully laid out infographics about this story here on its front page. That way you can find clarity and precision with the direction of the story. ADC split deepens as faction claims court barred Mark Aregbesola. MRA false attack on journalist urges intervention. Lagos activates Ebola response system as DR Congo battles outbreak. Ebola tried to get here about 11 years ago, but we won. So this time around we will win again. And the authorities, the health authorities, apparently have been up and doing in this regard.
Yeah.
Appeal Court orders Chief Registrar to confiscate crude on board FPSO Tamara Chokini. Those details are on page 27. Of course, it's a story replicated across most of today's national dailies. But let's leave it there with The Guardian. Hopefully you read up details of these headlines for yourself and find some sort of context, all right? But let's turn to the New Telegraph in the meantime.
All right, so on the New Telegraph, the first story there says FG revokes 5% telecom tax on voice data services. Interesting. The next story here says Ghana accepts Nigerians, West Africans deported from US. You find that on page 26 and 28 of the New Telegraph paper. The next story here says FCCPC recovers 7 billion naira for aggrieved customers, and that is on banking fintech top chart. That's the writer there. The next story here says Obi holds closed door meeting with Jonathan in Abuja, and the next one, Trump sparks health fears over droopy face. That is on page 4 of the New Telegraph. Then the big story here says, and that's on strike, says Nupeng places members on alert as fresh crisis looms. We just have crisis going on in almost in every sector right now in the country, and that is not a good thing. The next one here says, citing interest of justice, Appeal Court asks Chief Registrar to sell and screw crude belonging to GHL, Conor, NNPCL, and FPSO Tamara Chokoni. You want to read up that on page 6 of the New Telegraph. The next story, it's MRA condemns escalating attacks on journalists, urges international pressure to end impunity. On page 3, you find that story. And on party registration, we have 157 fail as ADA, ANC, AAP, 11 others kill INEC's first hurdle. I hope there's a new obedient party. I hope they also killed that. That will be okay. The very last story here, it says airline fear new tax law may paralyze businesses, raise ticket fare. There are 2 riders there. You might want to read of that. Finally, we have insomniacs may experience accelerated brain aging, and that's on study. Insomnia. I believe those that have difficulty finding sleep. Okay, so that is it on the New Telegraph. Read up details to get yourself more in tune with what's happening, and then let's go to the next story, which is the Tribune paper.
All right, above the nameplate here for the Tribune, we have a picture of former President Dr. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. The kicker says 2027 Suspense as Jonathan Obi meets in Abuja. Fresh crisis hits Nepeng Dangote MOU. 4 riders with that story. Union accuses refinery of violating agreements. Union membership voluntary. Dangote refinery says we remain committed to FG's intervention. Nepeng operates, collects dues within our facility. Court sentences Ansari leader Mahmoud Usman to 15 years imprisonment. Ladoja blames supporters for Oni Alafin supremacy field. Tasks Ibadan mortgages on drug abuse. Crude oil losses dropped to a 16-year low. That's according to NUP ROC report. Crude oil losses dropped to 16-year low, according to the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. FOI Act. Court orders Ondo government to release LG allocations, commissions, asset declarations. 2027, political parties may rise to 32 as INEC considers 14 for registration. Apparently, we have 18 already. It was 18 that actually went into the political arena in 2023. So if INEC goes ahead to register 14 more, it will jack up the number to 32. CBN unveils Vision 2028 to promote inclusive payment ecosystem. All right, your headlines so far from the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Please do read up details for yourself as we flip it over now to the Daily Times newspaper.
On the Daily Times newspaper, let's start with a big story that says strike imminent as Dangote breaks agreement, and that's coming from Nepeng. There's a story there that says Ansar terrorist leader Usman bags 15 years for illegal mining, and that's on page 2. On page 9 we have troops rescue 17 kidnapped victims in Kogi State. Who are these troops? You want to find out more by reading up. On page 14 here we have don't sensationalize Nigeria's debt situation, DMO cautions media. And on 15 we have Africa transition states need $210 billion for transformation. That's coming from AFDB. NAFDAC seizes 1.2 billion naira worth of unregistered fake malaria drug, and that's on page 14 of the Daily Times. Read up more to get yourself accustomed with what is happening in your country. Let's go to the next story. You want to go? Let's go to Punch.
It's Punch newspaper is our penultimate this morning. Let's look at those for you quickly. I just sent the nameplate, 2 headlines right there. 2027, Jonathan Obi hold closed door meeting. I'm sure that's the basic element that's driving the speculation about both gentlemen going into something like a joint ticket. All right, but there's a reason it's called closed door meeting, though. INEC shortlist 14 new party applicants, disqualifies 157.
That's such a number.
Right, sure. And then we have the Star headline here that says Nepeng Dangote clash as tanker drivers deal collapses. 2 riders with that headline. Dangote refinery says union membership not compulsory as Nepeng ponders fresh strike. Marketers urge adherence to MOU. NLC warns refinery against agreement breach. And further down, bottom right, supporters await Fubara's London return ahead of resumption. We understand all else equal, that should happen in 6 days' time, which is next week, Thursday, 18th of September. Court summons mark others over ADC leadership tussle. 5.6 trillion naira debts. Energy crisis looms as gas firms halt supply. That sounds like a story that should give us real concern. Now, well, let's turn to our last paper on the program today, and that will be This Day newspaper.
Okay, so on This Day newspaper, the first story here is from GHL. It says, First Bank wins battle but loses war to retain crude proceeds from FPSO Tokini. And there's a writer there that says, Court of Appeal, we are determined to protect the crude from First Bank's dissipation pending determination of court case at law arbitration. And another writer here says, okay, let's just go to the next story. That is from NUPRC. At 9,600 BPD, Nigeria's crude oil loses slump to 16-year low in July, and that's on page 5 rather, on this day paper. The next story from my next says 157 associations fail party registrations. Okay, all the best to them. We hope they try again. The next story, that's the star story here, it says NLC Ozekome, Natasha's lawyer, condemns Senate over senator's prolonged suspension. I mean, this has been lingering for too long. Natasha's case, she was told 6 months suspension, and it's well over 6 months now. Without having
just about 6 months now.
Just about 6 months. Okay, so. Okay,
you think that resumption is due?
I mean, it is. It is due. I just know that they're just trying to play her. Should I say dirty? Well, what do you expect?
You think is the mass world factor that's playing out here?
I mean. Well, it's basically because we don't have so many females.
But when this was a sitting arrangement issue.
It's not supposed to linger for this
long, right?
Yes, so it's definitely greater powers fighting her at this point.
Okay, let's see how she flies back, because we hear our supporters are now saying they are awaiting her return ahead of her resumption.
The problem is that we don't have, all the other women backing her in the house there. And I think they are just trying to play smart. The other women feel like the moment they try to back her up, they also become victims. And then when they take all of them away, we don't have anybody representing us. So they just feel like it's wise to play, safe. And then still
carry across
alone. But I mean, it's just time for them to unite, and speak in her favor at this point. I don't think this is good for us, even as a nation. It's not a good story.
They say you cannot be more Catholic than the Pope, right? So let's allow Senator Akpoti Uduaghan.
Justice against one, injustice done to one is injustice for all.
Okay.
Yes, that's how it goes. Tomorrow I might be in that shoe, and because this kind of thing has happened and no one
it becomes a wrong precedent.
Yes, exactly. So it's important to speak up, when things like this come and play out. Anyways, let's go to the next story, and that's on Labour. I think there are 3 riders to that Natasha lawyer condemning the Senate, and the first one is on Labour. It says this is descent into dictatorship, brazen, premeditated assault on democracy, threatens to mobilize against Senate. And constitutional lawyers saying continued suspension is political victimization and it's unconstitutional. And Natasha's lawyer replies, NASCLEC threatens further legal action. Okay, finally we have 2027 loading. Obi visits Jonathan. We are all looking forward to, the turnout of that meeting, that closed-door meeting. And that is it on the newspaper review this morning. We just want to let you know that all the papers, every information we've put out here is strictly brought to you by these papers. Global TV does not add to any of it. So you want to find out more by reading up. The next session will be the discussion segment. I'll have we to take us through. Okay, I think we'll start with the first conversation on the Nap House story
and how that reverberates across the world.
So that will be what will begin the next segment, our conversation segment. Of course, it gets very interesting when we bring to you our discussions on Global Morning. Please stay tuned for the next segment of Global Morning.
your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Government bans 26 social media apps, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, TikTok, just like that. And the excuse is they didn't register properly. But for the youths already frustrated with corruption, joblessness, and seeing politicians' children living in luxury while they hustle, that ban was like pouring petrol on fire. The streets went hot. Young people, mostly Gen Z, stormed the parliament, stormed luxury hotels, and even homes of political elites. Security forces they clamped down. Sadly, lives were lost. And guess what? Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has resigned. The country is literally hanging in uncertainty. Today, we'll break it down. What exactly triggered Nepal's meltdown? What Gen Z is demanding, and what lessons Nigeria and the rest of the world can take from this? We say social media is for gist, memes, and fun, but for this generation, it's also their microphone, their protest ground, and their survival tool. Yeah, so to take us through this conversation, I have a guest, Emmanuel Opawoye, a youth policy advocate. He's a social commentator, and he's going to join us to dissect this topic. Please stay with us.
waking up and suddenly being told no more WhatsApp, no more Instagram, you know, how would you feel? How would that make you feel? Well, we have in the studio Emmanuel Opawoye, and he's here to dissect this topic with us. We're talking about the Nepal protest and the youth, what we have to draw from it, what Nigerians can learn from this situation. Welcome, Mr. Emmanuel.
Thank you. It's an interesting situation. Thank you for the honor of being here. It's an interesting situation globally. We have Nepal now on the news. At some point, it was Tunisia that brought about the Arab Spring. At some point in 2020, it was the NSAS in Nigeria and the protest. And now we have the Gen Z protest of Nepal. And the interesting situation is that when you look at it, although it starts with, or it looks like it started with the banning of the social media, you would look at it that there are several underlying causes, and that was just the trigger. And we see this all around, some other nations of the world, where young people feel disgruntled and dissatisfied with the level of and the quality of governance that they are receiving. And social media has gone beyond just a communication tool. It has become a platform where young people have found the freedom to be able to express themselves and share to the rest of the world how they feel about certain things as regards governance and politics. And that's the situation Nepal has found itself in the last few days. And it's interesting to watch in our generation.
I feel like this is an attack from the government on freedom of speech. Do you agree?
Oh yes, I totally agree. You see, when it comes to freedom of speech and technology, what we need to understand is that young people of our generation don't trust the organized media, and have found a way in which they can air their opinions and get their information through social media. They can air their views and get their information through social media. And so when you begin to put a ban on social media, it's you trying to shut their mouths and blind their eyes. And that is something that this generation, it's an audio-visual generation. They will not have it, and that's what you see, in Nepal today. It's a way of it's an how do I put it now? It's an injustice to freedom of speech. Absolutely.
From the government, but on social media now we have people put out words, put out things, put out content, and then you see a backlash, put out their opinion. And the recent example of that is the late Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated. Was that day before yesterday? Yeah, and this was a man that never held back his words. He was loved by many, he was hated, of course, by so many, and then he gets assassinated. Do you think his outspoken freedom of speech played out in making him a target? And then what we're talking about freedom of speech, I don't want us to come from just the government's backlash on citizens, but to also put it out there that freedom of speech is how to be careful. In other words, how we can be careful when speaking, especially in this social media era when our words go far and wide.
Yes, some people used to say freedom of speech is guaranteed, but freedom of speech is not. That's on lighter note. However, you see, people should be able to air their opinions, and it's as long as they are not taking up arms. It's your word against my word. It's how I see things. My worldview against your worldview, and people will have differing opinions. People will have different worldviews. People we have different ways in which they are experiencing things and want to express it, in that manner. I think personally that people should be able to have respectful conversations bordering, on governance, politics, religion, and and what have you. But when we now begin to take the lives of people because of what they think and their opinions, then that begins to bring concerns globally. And that's what we're seeing with what happened with Charlie Kirk, in the United States of America. It's concerning that someone would be someone's life would be taken just because another person did not agree with what they said. I mean, you have your platform, you have your different social media platforms. It's your word against my word. And he was a debater, all right. And so imagine, growing up, had secondary school debates. Imagine if we cannot encourage constructive, respectful debating and says your word against my word. This is what I see, this is what I say. What do you see and what do you say? I think we can have respectful conversations. I'm not even trying to, and I'm not even saying, to be insultive or to be provocative, but we can have respectful conversations around things that, from our different worldviews, and feel safe doing it. That's what I'm saying. You see, look at, the people of Nepal, for example, and even the conversation around Nigeria and the NSAS protest. People had opinions about the government's, the way the police, brutality and all of that, and how the government responded was not exactly palatable. It didn't do justice to the cry of the people. So people should be able to air their opinions without being afraid of losing their lives. It doesn't. The two are not. The two don't go together. I shouldn't lose my life because I had an opinion.
So that is an ideal situation. People should be allowed to, say their mind, to air their opinion. But in reality, it looks like this is a mirage. Freedom of speech is becoming a mirage. Some people are bold enough to, regardless of whatever circumstance, still air their views. But we look at these people as heroes. Sometimes when you see people airing their views, especially in a space like Nigeria, you're looking at them as some superhumans because you are wondering what can happen to you next. So, putting yourself in the shoes, of that ordinary Nigerian, what is the way forward? How would you suggest, we air our views? Because I see you as a youth advocate, right? I see you as someone, an agent of change in our time as this. So, what would you put out? What words would you give out to that, Nigerian that is disgruntled and wants to air their opinion, and then can put it out in a way that the government would also listen to their cry, or whoever it is that they're speaking to, having a different opinion from? How should we communicate, understand, our grievances in a world like this, especially with the use of social media?
I'm an advocate for peaceful processes, of conversations. I'm also an advocate of understanding your environment. It's what will work in the United States of America, or what will work here in Ireland, may not work in Nigeria. And I grew up in Nigeria. I lived a huge part of my life in Nigeria, and I understand that the cultural setting in Nigeria is, we have two different generations in Nigeria. Two distinct generations. There is the cultural generation and there is the contemporary generation. The cultural generation may not necessarily are the one. Most of them are the ones in power, so they may not understand how that. Growing up in Nigeria, you don't speak back to elders. You almost are not allowed to complain, even if you are dissatisfied. So that is what the ruling class is still operating by. Sad to say, the world has changed, the world has moved on. The younger generation are more exposed than we can ever imagine. And so there must be a balance. There must be a middle ground where the older generation who are predominant, the ruling class is predominantly of the older generation, must come to understand the times that we are in. And the younger generation as well, people like us, must also learn to put our to share our grievances, our dissatisfaction, in a way that doesn't seem disrespectful. Disrespect disrespect is relative. It's different. Different perspectives, but there is a general term. There is a way you can put your dissatisfaction and share your grievances without dissociating your emotions from what is on ground. And sometimes we can be emotional about certain things that we feel dissatisfied about, but nothing productive ever comes out from being emotional. Nobody ever gets a job done being emotional about it. What are the issues on ground? What are the underlying issues? What is the solution? Because you can't just be saying we need such and such and such a thing. What are the solutions that we are providing? Because if we're not providing any solution, then it's as good as, complaining alone doesn't just do it. What are the solutions that we are providing? How are we leading our lives? So there must be a middle ground where the ruling class understands that we are in a different generation. The world has changed, and they have to accept that the world has changed, and young people should be able to air their opinions freely without any cultural handcuffs, holding them. And then the younger people as well should be able to share their grievances and share their complaints, with a certain, level of decorum and respect. And I know that sometimes when people are pushed to the wall, they seem like they don't have any choice. But I still believe that there is a place for conversation, there's a place for discourse, there is a place for conflict transformation. You see, because I have some level of certification in conflict transformation, and conflict transformation goes beyond conflict resolution. Because while conflict resolution is looking at solving the immediate problem, conflict transformation is looking at, first of all, what are the presenting situations, what are the underlying issues, because somebody doesn't just get up and begins to protest. There are underlying issues. We have to come to look at those underlying issues and then look at how we can channel the energy of this conflict into solutions, into constructive, solutions, and not destructive solutions. And so, these are the things that we must, as young people, must begin to educate ourselves about, and the older ruling class should also begin to educate themselves about on how to deal with a new generation. It's a new generation, it's a new world, and things must be done differently.
So indeed, it is a generational clash at play in the whole situation. And then for there to be progress, like you said, there's conflict resolution, right? But then it needs, these young people coming together. And also I kind of see a barrier with young people coming together because there is classism. There are the rich, the high and the mighty, children of the high and the mighty. And there are these ones that are really concerned about the problem. Do you get? They are the ones most affected by the corruption, by the setbacks, of all policies, initiated or instituted into, the government and all of that. So where can there be a synergy? How can that play out? Because at the end of the day, sometimes it now looks as if we use religion, we use classism, all of these things now becomes a barrier, to the unity that will really foster the movement, that will really foster the growth we want to see, or the change we really want to see. So where is the common ground for, these different persons? I don't know if you understand my my question.
I do understand what you're saying. The Nepal situation, one of the things that fueled the Nepal situation was the hashtag Nepo babies. And,
exactly.
So it's the ordinary citizens saw the children of the ruling class displaying wealth, we're not bothered about what was going on in the country, and that was one of the things that fueled the Nepal crisis. You see, the thing with a nation, and the thing with there's no nation has a future if both the rich and the poor are not looking forward to a better future. It doesn't matter that you are rich today if the investments and your contribution to the nation or to the community or to the society is destructive. There is no future even for your children, or even for the what we call the ruling class, the very rich. Their children may not necessarily have a future in that nation, because if the nation gets destroyed today by the decisions that they are making, or by their idleness or inactivity, or indifference towards the condition of the country, then there is no future for that country. All right. And so when we look at the founding fathers of the Nigerian state, many of them were from rich families, some of them were from poor families, but it didn't matter because they were looking for a better Nigeria. Look at the founding fathers of America. Not many of them were very rich, and not many of them were poor, but they came together because they wanted to build a nation. And so nation building has nothing to do with class. Is that if you cannot see that there is something wrong, even though you are comfortable, even though you are not on the receiving end of the degradation that is happening in the nation, if you cannot see that that nation does not have a future, if things continue to go like this, then you are part of the problem. And so beyond classism, beyond the religious divides and the divide when it comes to affluence and opportunities, everybody needs to come together and look at the future of the nation. Don't look at today. Today you may be comfortable, but tomorrow there may be no nation to be comfortable in. You see, and it doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter what your bank account is reading. If there is no peace in the nation, nobody can function properly. All right. If the citizens of a nation are dissatisfied, you cannot have a functioning country or a functioning nation or society. And so, irrespective of class, irrespective of religious divides, everybody needs to come and look at what the future of the nation will look like. If with what you're doing right now, with the way the nation is going right now, it doesn't look like there is going to be a comfortable future, a palatable future, then everybody needs to come together and say, how can we make the future better? Because really, it's not necessarily always about the now. Most people who are protesting are okay now, but they've looked at their lives and they've seen that if we continue like this, then the future is bleak. The future, there's almost no future. We look at many of the people, protesting. Not every one of them is suffering. Not every one of them is experiencing, maximum discomfort. Some of them are comfortable, but they've looked at it and seen that we will have no future if we are continuing like this. And that's the issue, and that's what young people need to understand. That whether my parents are billionaires or I'm comfortable, or I'm not, I don't have to deal with any of this, of the lack that the average masses are complaining about. If we continue like this, our children will have no future. And that's where that's the table that we must all come to.
Okay, so now talking about this protest, similar to what we had in NSAS. During the NSAS protest, it was more of a peaceful protest, but at some point there are some people that hijacked it. At the same time, in this Nepal protest, we've seen people storm parliament and luxury hotels, and some people calling it hooliganism, while others feel like it is desperation, and some others also feeling like this is important to bring about the change we want to see. It's important to tear down walls, tear down buildings, have a revolution in general to be able to see the change we want to see. Do we need to go this path to see the change, or do you think there's a different? Where do you stand? What do you think is the best way for to take our nation forward?
Personally, I do not believe in the destruction of property in order to air your views. I believe that you can. I believe in non-violent conflicts. I believe conflicts are necessary for discussions to happen, but I do not believe in violent conflict. And that's the thing with that's the thing that we see in our generation. That even though if you push people to the wall, there is no telling how they are going to respond. But I'm an advocate for non-violent conflicts, because the destruction of the government buildings and properties are taxpayers' money. Irrespective, you want to build a nation, not destroy one. And if we're talking nation building, we cannot be destroying our national, properties. We cannot be destroying our national assets as young people. But we can express ourselves to the point where the leadership of the nation knows that we are serious with what we are saying. However, I personally do not believe in violent conflict. I believe that we can air our grievances, but we do not need to destroy national assets because we are angry or because we are dissatisfied. Because it will still take us. And there is the cost of conflict. And one of the things that I usually share with people is the cost of conflict. You can have all these buildings burnt down, but it's still from the taxpayers' money that they're going to use to rebuild these properties. You see, so that money would have been used to begin the conversation of the nation building that you are talking about. But you are setting yourself back by destruction of government assets and government properties. Those properties that you're destroying are not owned by those government officials. They are owned by the state, and you are part of the state. You are a stakeholder in the state. So it's like getting angry with your wife or your children or your sibling, and then you burn down the house. Where are you going to live? You see, so that's the challenge that we face today. I believe that governments must listen to the people. You're not there by yourself. You are put there by the people and for the people, and you need to listen to the people. And if you push the people to the wall, you cannot determine how they are going to respond. But having said that, when people are sharing their grievances, you don't need to burn down government properties and national assets. For me, it's a no-no. But I believe that people should be able to air their grievances, and government should listen to the people. And if you don't listen to the people, then you cannot determine how they are going to respond to it. But on the other hand, young people, I don't believe in violent conflict.
Give excuses for whatever actions they take, because some people will say, we've been speaking for a while. Anyways, let's go for this break. When we return, Global Morning will still be here. Please stay with us.
All right, that's a big thank you to Mr. Emmanuel for such a conversation. I mean, he has been able to enlighten us. He is a great advocate, right? Yeah, and so much to take away from what he has said. Now, Nepal may be far away, but the lessons hit home when young people feel unheard, when inequality grows, when corruption goes unchecked. All it takes is just one spark. All it takes is just one spark. Even something as simple as social media ban for it to explode. Yes, that is to say that social media is so powerful. So the real takeaway may be that, for government to listen to youth, to respect the youth's voices, and to build a system that gives them hope. Otherwise, as Nepal shows us, silence will not last forever, Yeah, so this is still Global Morning with me, Priscilla Obasi. Our next conversation will be with Uyi Abumefwebe. He will take us through, the next segment of the show. Please stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through
Thank you everyone for joining us for this conversation at this point in time. Nigeria is still quite an evolving space, especially as it has to do with our politics and politicking. More so now that 2027 election or round of elections is just ahead of us. We see how politicians have been putting up a great deal of show across party, the ruling party, the opposition, again, particularly with the coalition coming on board now, even though that in itself has a bit of drama that we just all cannot ignore. But our focus for this conversation will be the Obedient Movement, whose leader, of course, is former governor of Anambra State and the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 election, talking about Peter Obi. What that element, so to speak, in itself means in defining and redefining Nigerian politics and how that will shape ultimately the 2027 general election. And to help us straighten these out and find some sense in this direction, we're joined by someone who is heart to heart with Mr. Peter Obi, doubles as the national coordinator of the Obedient Movement, Dr. Yunusa Tanko. It's a delight, Doc, to have you on the program today.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Great. So maybe we begin from your own evolution. I mean, I'm sure there are viewers at this point who are wondering, how did you do that shift from the National Conscience Party and today you are with the, well, let's not say the Labour Party. I mean, you are with a movement that is radically different from where you're coming from.
No, not really radically different. In fact, it's evolving from the past. Because if you know, the National Conscience Party represents, as led by Gani Fawemi, and Femi Falana, who took over from Gani, and Obayuwana, who took over from Gani.
Right.
Femi Falana took over from Obayuwana, then I took over from Femi Falana. And then before we had a challenge of the registration by INEC and all of that. And it's all because of the ideological base. The ideological base is the demanding for good governance. How do we change Nigeria from a money-driven politics to a Nigeria where ideals and merits become the norms in the society? And so between those periods in which we were struggling to ensure that it is the supremacy of the people that reign high, of course, you couldn't win elections, and which the rules and regulation of INEC was like, okay, you must win elections and so. So the people buying into those particular ideology, and before they were just being being gagged, poverty has been put into a forefront. And so when you dangle 1,000 naira in front of them, it makes a lot of meaning. And we were trained to change the narrative. We won election though in Ekiti State, but the same challenges that particular gentleman faced, because at the State Assembly, what they were doing is that once you are in opposition, they continue to gag you. You don't get you involved into activities. So you will be forced, if you don't have a straitjacket mind, you will be forced to go with the old order. So like the Obedient Movement is demanding for good governance. Good governance at all levels. And they're not shying away from it. They're demanding for it. It's not a quest. It's a demand. So, and we are ready to champion it. So you see, coming from that particular background gave me more strength into what I'm trying to do, or what we are trying to do in the Obedient Movement. I can tell you, it's full of challenges, quite often, because some people expect you to give them money to do ABC.
Right.
And once you don't provide it, it becomes difficult. Getting their minds to change it to this particular new order that Peter Obi is trying to champion, it's difficult, especially in an opposition country of this nature. Today, Nigeria has been so much impoverished deliberately by those who are in position of power. And so you are now becoming a subservient to those who are in position. But we need to fight it. We need to fight it from our mind. We need to fight it from our soul. We need to fight it together. That is the way we can be able to submerge them. But it's quite difficult.
from this narrative, it's apparent that you were built for this. I mean, it's been a long time coming. But let's talk about money for a second. You talked about how that poverty has been weaponized. At least that's suggestive from what you just talked about a while ago. Right. But again, is it not mere euphoria? Is it not just at best idealistic for you to expect money not to play a very pivotal role in our elections in a country where everything comes down to naira and kobo?
Yeah, money for you to execute the projects ahead of you. I want to travel to Lagos, for example. I will need to get money to pay for my flight ticket.
Right.
Okay. Of course, when I get to where I'm going to be, I must have an accommodation. It's either maybe I go and stay with my friend who believe in the same ideology to cut costs, and then maybe his wife and his children will share what they have. That's the ideological way of doing things, which we inherited.
Right.
But you see, in a contemporary day in Nigeria today, you are expected to go to a hotel and pay for your food and all of that. In this situation, a journey from here to Lagos will cost you nothing less than 500,000 naira on a minimum level.
Maybe just a night or two.
And that's a huge money. From where do you get it? You're not in government, okay, where certain amount of money should have been provided for you. Okay. Normally, if you are running a proportional system of government, you should have had a certain amount of money being given or an allocation being given to you to maintain that particular oppositional position of it. But then that is not the situation here in Nigeria. It is a winner-take-all syndrome. So it becomes a very pivotal that you have to challenge the status quo. The rush and the quest to be in position of power, not because of the people, but because of personal interest reigns supreme. That has to change. We must change it. Okay, so that is the reason why we in the obedient movement are thinking that, look, we have somebody who has that ideological belief, and that person is Peter Obi. Prudent, self-independent in terms of finance on his own, and he's been championing and financing most of this particular. It may not be up to that level, but at least he is the one doing it independently because he believes that Nigeria should be better than the way it is at the moment now. And so most of the Nigerian youth find favor in his messaging. A clear-cut example, you're talking about a governor who uses security votes for the interest of education, pulling people out of poverty, changing the narrative, making sure there's electricity, making sure that there's enough good roads and all. These are money that some other governors steal at will, unaccounted for. And he's saying, no, that is not supposed to be, because the priority is supposed to be the people first. Change their thinking. Move them out of poverty line. Then they will be more productive, so that we will not change from consumption to production. And Peter Obi's ideology is that, look, when I spend 1 naira, that 1 naira must produce something for the interest of the people. And that's something that we don't have in our system. That's one narrative we need to change. We need to believe that, okay, even if you are borrowing the way we are borrowing unabated for, you're borrowing on a basic, continuous level. That borrowing is not channeled towards production purposes. It's channeled through consumption purposes. And that will not add value to whatever we are doing. And so he is saying that, look, if you must take A, B, C, D, it must be attached to something that will be yielding result for the interest of the Nigerian people. So you see, it's a different ballgame entirely. It's very difficult, hard pill to swallow, but then it can't be done collectively as a people. So the psyche of the people need to know. And that's why many of the Nigerian youth who believe that our democracy has been rewrote by some individuals believe so much in its ideological belief. And that, of course, is the crux of the obedient movement.
We're going to dig into the person of Peter Obi in a minute, but let's talk about this movement. I mean, just immediately after the election in 2023, there were issues back and forth around finance. How that some persons had allegedly taken advantage of the movement. I mean, with all the force it came with, the clout and what have you, to exploit this, if you like, competitive advantage of a movement in such a way that some persons were even accused of using monies meant for driving this same ideology you've been talking about the whole time for personal aggrandizement. We saw other Nigerians in the diaspora who believed so much in this movement also put in their widow's mite, if you like, and things like that. that controversy has dogged the party on the level the whole time. I mean, the last 2 years and counting, for example. How is the Obidient movement at the leadership level handling that?
Okay. I took over in September 2022. Just barely a year in an organized Obidient movement.
Okay, 2022.
Yes, just 2023. Just last year.
Okay, 2024. So just a year down the line.
2024, yes, 2024. And so just a year down the line. Right from the beginning, I understand there's a huge challenge. Challenge had to do with internal issues as regard to issue of payment of agents and all of that. And then individuals, groups, we have close to about thousands of support groups who were doing their work independently.
Across the country?
Across the whole world. And they are doing it. And then people who are supporting them because they believe.
Right.
And so it's not organized. So what we did was that, knowing also there's going to be a little bit issue of deficit of trust with regard to finance. There's a lot of people querying that. And you see, one thing about this kind of movement is that when you hear one story, check the other story, you find out that probably what this particular person is telling you is not really true. So when it comes to the issue of finance, each of those particular support group, somebody individually must have supported you, or you are to account to that particular person who has given you X amount of money. There's no single person that can tell you that we have given the whole group of Obidient movement X amount of money. There's none. It's only independent pocket groups, and that those ones are supposed to account for it. Some have done, some are still doing. So when we took over, we didn't leverage, we didn't mention the issue of money. We wanted to earn the trust of the people first. It's very important. So we try to have a hybrid kind of leadership, structuring it, and at the same time making it effective, and then getting the trust of the people and getting other persons involved. Meaning that getting all the support group involved. So what we did was that we gave certificate to all the support group to work independently. Then meanwhile, the major structure of the Obidient movement is up and running, though we are fine-tuning as we continue. Now today I can tell you authoritatively, we have the National Coordinating Council, because the structure was shaped in the National Coordinating Council, Supportive Advisory Council, and then the National Assembly Advisory Council with state structure. We have all of this in place. We have all the state structure in place, except for 3 states, which we are working on now. All of those ones were in place. Then we now went ahead to do advocacy as regard to what we are trying to do to get the people to understand. We had like about 4 regional advocacy. One in Kano, one in Onitsha, the other one in Gombe, the other, then the final one that we did last was in Lagos. So there's 4 geographical zones already been we've already reached those particular goals. Now we have the state coordinator. Each state coordinator will now have, each and every one of those state coordinators will have close about 10, 15, some 25, some 30, depending on the geography, some even 9. But the structure is, they are all there. Now the next level is to make sure these groupings are effective. They're reading in the database and they're mobilizing the people into a database. That, of course, is where we are at the moment. And let me say this, all of the programs that we've done, all of them were internally funded, individually by the Obidient. So, meaning that the trust of accountability is already on. We did a birthday program, or not a rally, but program for Peter Obi, all over the country, did it, and everybody contributed internally by himself. So, as I'm speaking to you right now, the Obidient movement has not collected. In fact, we are still working on an account, that will be sincere with you. So that means there is no single donation that comes into a particular account. That's to tell you that we are trying to be as accountable to the people.
So as of today, the movement does not have an official bank account?
No. So that in order not to say A, B, C, D have been sent into that particular account. But when we've already earned it, now we are already putting the account in place. Now you've seen that we are accountable to you with our own money, with our own contribution. So that's to tell you that we too are self-sustaining. Nobody, except now people are now saying, okay, we want to support you. We want to give you something. That means that we've already been able to connect. People now want to help. People want to support.
Voluntarily.
Nobody. Neither His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi or any other person. Everything that you see that is being done by the Obidient movement is self-sustained, self-financed. You bring your cab, you bring your vehicle, You bring your, and that's how democracy should be. People who find favor or believe in the system. So the people that are doing it, we are not saying we are there yet. No. We are far from it. In fact, we say we are far from it because we really want to go beyond this. Those who are feeling aggrieved or feeling, we want them, all of them in. Let's work together. This is a country we need to salvage. You can't stay by the sidewalk and thinking that probably things will come to you. It won't happen. Right. So, but when we have a grouping like this, all of us believe in it. We don't have any problem with anybody. We just want Nigeria to be good. That's what we want. We want to make sure that when you are going to school, you can be able to take care of your school fees and all of that. You want to feed, you don't need to beg somebody to give you money. You don't need, you want to travel from point A to point B. You are sure that you get to that particular destination. Just like how it happens in any good country. There are people that run to America, you run to Dubai and all of that. We want that change. That's what we just want. Nothing more. So at that point, some people may of course feel aggrieved because we are trying to stop them from the criminality that they indulge in. I mean, just imagine. We are in a deep problem in a country like this now. Feeding becomes problem. Discussion becomes problem. Even to communicate on the phone is becoming problem. Now again, the government is actually trying to stiffen you, putting taxes on you. When you don't give, you don't give opportunity. That is treasonable offense against the people. And that's what we don't want.
I want us to dig into the person of Peter Obi. I mean, no doubt about it. Anybody who followed Nigerian elections in 2023 would agree, whether you like Mr. Obi or not, that he got massive support before, during, and even after the polls. But that doesn't seem to be the same. I mean, the status quo has drastically changed these last 2 years. As of today, there are people who say Peter Obi is not a de facto member of the Labour Party, and we have seen one of his leg, quote unquote, in the ADC. Very recently, just a matter of 24, 48 hours ago, we also have seen some sort of quote-unquote romance between him and former President Dr. Goodluck Jonathan as well. These are all suggestive of several things, and you see speculations flying all over the place. What exactly is happening with Peter Obi's presidential ambition in light of 2027?
I've been a chairman of a political party. I've been member of the National Peace Committee. I've also been the chairman of the Inter-Party Advisory Council.
The IPAC?
Yes. I've also been a presidential candidate myself. In 2019, I ran. You can check the records. I have never seen an individual that is so committed to the interest of the people like the one I saw. There may be so many important persons that people have seen, but to me, I see Peter Obi distinctly different. In fact, his mental IQ is beyond your imagination. The way he psychologically thinks is different. He's a person that believes in an ideology. He told me a story about his Professor Mark Jacobs, if I'm not making a mistake. In one university, he mentioned it in the UK. When he went to the university, they were teaching, of course, economic. And in the process of teaching economic, the professor was talking so much about other continents, but he never mentioned Africa. So Mr. Peter Obi accorded him, Prof, I don't understand this. I paid this X amount of money to be at this particular program, but you are mentioning other continents, but you didn't mention Africa. Then the professor said, I will answer you tomorrow. Tomorrow is okay. And that tomorrow was the day in which the professor was going to leave the university because he has served for about 35 years. So it's a big event the next day. So everybody comes around. And so, at that point, Mr. Peter Obi still raised his hand. He said, Prof, you have not spoken about Africa. And I said, okay, Mr. Peter, me and you will have lunch later. You join me for lunch. So they went for lunch. While they were at the lunch and all, Peter Obi was waiting for him to respond. The man did still don't respond. He said, don't worry, Peter, let us take a walk. While they are taking a walk, the professor now said, okay, Peter, can I see the currency of your country? So Mr. Peter Obi now brought out 100 naira, which was the highest denomination at that time.
Right.
So The man had brought up $100. They are equivalent in numbers, isn't it? But in value, they are not.
Of course.
So he now asked him, Peter, which one would you choose among the two of them? He now said, of course, I'll take the $100. I said, you see, that is the problem. You people don't have faith in your country. So if you don't have faith in your country, how can you think that the continent itself can be productive? Every time you've never heard somebody producing a car from Africa or anything, producing X amount of money because do this. You are not productive. You're not giving the world anything. Yes, they are extracting your raw materials and then using it to produce. But are you producing something? In the whole eye of the world, of course, nothing. We are just coming to extract from us. So you now say, Peter, what you need to do is go back to your country and join politics and pull people out of poverty and be productive. That was the beginning. So he looked at it as, okay, so this is what I need to do. I need to go back to my country, put in effort to change the narrative. And so the life, he's a businessman, he was enjoying his life and all, but that changes his psyche of a mind. Look, we need to come to fight for this country and change it from a consumption nation to a production nation. So it was a driving force. He has to have a motive. So in every of the motive is what is moving him now around the country. And of course, those who don't like it will always try to stop him. So here he is. He was in the PDP, and when he was in the PDP, he worked with Atiku Abubakar and all of that.
That was having left ABGA.
Yeah. After he has been a governor and all. And he has proven his mettle as a governor. You cannot find him fault. He's not perfect. But what he did in Anambra is vividly clear. Is it in terms of money that he left? There were only 2 individuals in this country that left that kind of money, even close. He left 75 billion. Yar'Adua left 5. Apart from that, there's nobody.
That's the late Yar'Adua in Katsina.
Exactly. So you can see, practically, he started changing the narrative from the motive that he has. In his house, in the government house, you don't come here and start eating food like the way you see in other country governors. No, it's only 4 chairs. Let's be prudent. If you want to see me, want to feed me, let me go to your house. He pays salaries of staffs, making sure that nobody was owing any kobo. Change the narrative of education, making sure that from 26 to come, number 1. Industry, roads, power supplies. These are things that affect the people directly. And this is what Peter Obi did on a continuous basis. He never stopped because he wanted to prove that he had an opportunity. So that opportunity gave him the track record that he has. Till today, they're still finding fault as regard to his bribery engaged into criminal activity. None has been found against him, except those who are trying to create. So with that kind of individual, why do you shop for another? You don't need to look for, you have already seen somebody who has practicalized it, what we need to have in this country. So at that point, every movement of Peter Obi is guided by that particular story of his life.
Is Mr. Peter Obi still a member,
member
of the Labour Party?
Yes, he is. Mr. Peter Obi is a member of the Labour Party.
But he's obviously not on the same page with Barrister Julius Abure, and that's a problem.
Of course, the party is not about Julius Abure. It's a party that belongs to Nigerian people, though orchestrated and put in place by the Nigerian Labour Congress. And so every one of us who are members, I'm a unionist. So nobody will tell me that he owns the party more than me. Through my salary, I've been able to pay my dues, and some of it we supported the party to it. So everybody that is a Labour unionist and all on the Labour Party, I'm not sure whether if you're a unionist, you are a member of the Labour Party because your money somewhere one way or the other goes to the Labour Party. It belongs to all of us. So no single person will tell you that he owns the Labour Party. No. Yeah, but people who are in position at that time help to make it what it is. So we are all, even if you have taxpayers money, you are all members of the Labour Party indirectly.
But the concern really, Doc, is the fact that you now have the variance between the Abure-led faction.
That is where the challenge.
So how do you reconcile that going into a very crucial election?
That is where the court need to do their work. Apart from the fact that the Supreme Court has made their own pronouncement, I'm not supposed to do the due diligence of ensuring that this is the person who is in charge of the party, and then we move on.
But we understand that on INEC's website, it is the Julius Abure-led leadership that...
A very good more advisory warning to the government. Don't ever think that because you are in position of power, nothing can happen. Don't. You either Naturally, by vote, you are voted out because you cannot stay more than what still is 8 years. And if you don't do well the way we are seeing it, you cannot even spend more than 4 years. People will still vote you out. 2, don't also think that probably the people cannot rise against you when you make their life miserable. They have the right to rise. Constitutionally, they have. Then thirdly, don't forget about that God exists. God, he cannot continue to watch you as you continue to put his own people into total poverty and pain and pang, thinking that because you are in position of power, nobody can do it. Because the way we are going as a country, it's like, dear me, I can do anything. You can't stop me. I have the power, I have the will. It is not so, my brother. Whatever you have at the moment is just for a short period of time. It's your credibility and your name. That Murtala Mohammed led this country for 6 months. We still talk about it. Yar'Adua was there. How many years did we still refer to him? And so it is your goodness that will follow you. When you do bad things, it will follow you till the end. In fact, it will follow your kindred. So be mindful. It's a simple advice. Do good for the people. Any opportunity, and that goes for even every Nigerian. Because I cannot phantom it. I'll just give you an example. When dollar was 100 naira to $100, you can see the difference. But today, how much is it? It's thousands. And people are walloping in poverty on a daily basis. And Peter Obi is saying that, look, let's improve our lives. You can't stay more than 100 years on earth. This is the best way to do it. Help, support, bring in. He do this by himself. He go to do borehole, meet with imaginary children, people who do not care about those particular people. He goes to them, support them, giving his own widow's mind. So imagine if we have thousands of people who will be doing the same thing. Will we be the same way we are? And it doesn't mean that he's the only person that is a billionaire. There are many of them who are billionaires, but they don't care about the people on the street. Let's even assume that Peter Obi is looking for the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So maybe that's why he's doing it. All others, if they are looking for that position, they should do the same thing.
I think at this point, we're going to take a quick break because there's a lot more we need to talk about just to help expand this conversation. When we return, we'll look at this, very recent meet between Mr. Peter Obi and Goodluck Jonathan, former president of this country, what that could be suggestive of, especially given that constitutionally, we understand that Dr. Jonathan still has 1 term, with a big if, he decides to run. But then there is the question of on what platform. We'll answer those questions when we return from this break. Do stay with us. All right, let's take it up from where we left off. See, there is the thing about individuals and the kind of clouds that they bring. The opposition, especially from the side of the ADC, the coalition, as is popularly referred to, has made it very clear time and again that their ultimate goal is to unseat the APC-led government, of course, under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu. That much is clear. However, on the other side, which is on the PDP side, there is the, dual option of do we choose former President Goodluck Jonathan or former Governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, to be our flag bearer as far as this election is concerned. We've also seen another speculation, claiming that there's a chance that the former President Goodluck Jonathan is likely going to have a running mate in the person of former Governor of Kano State, Engineer Rabiu Kwankwaso. So we have all of these speculations going on. As of today, where does Peter Obi tilt more? Is it towards the PDP or the Labour Party?
He is a member of the Labour Party.
But membership does not necessarily determine on what platform he will run.
Sure. And that, of course, brings us the issue of coalition and political party.
Right.
It's a public, in public domain, that the PDP has been making overture and attempt that Peter Obi should come back to the PDP. You heard Professor Jerry Gana said it. You've heard even some of the publicity secretary of the PDP said it. And almost a lot of their chieftains have also made that particular. In fact, Bala Mohammed, who is the governor of Bauchi State and chairman of the Governors Forum, also said they will visit him in Bauchi
That's
State.
the PDP Governors Forum?
Yes. They all asked Mr. Peter. So, in this line, there's more than about 7 political parties. All of them are beckoning on Mr. Peter Obi to come on. That means that there may be 10 more political parties, because at the point in the process, maybe some other person may drop.
You have to prune down.
Yes. So more, some of these particular parties will be registered.
Right.
So those ones too will be shopping for a candidate. And we are hoping and believing that maybe over half of them will also be beckoning on Mr. Peter Obi to come around, because they want to come in with a big bang. And he has an army already on ground, which is the obedient movement. So if any one of them decide to give it a shot, they will say, oh, Mr. Peter Obi, see our platform. Just take it and run with it. Do you understand? So anything can happen within the period. But at the moment now, he's still a member of the Labour Party. That does not mean a conglomerate or a coalition of political parties may not come in the nearest future and then front him as a candidate. So he left his options open while he strongly built the movement as his strength to go into any political battle in the nearest future.
That meeting between himself, Peter Obi and former President Goodluck Jonathan is very key, especially now that we're having continuous conversation around these issues. It makes you want to wonder, first of all, that party we know for a fact was behind closed doors. When politicians hold meetings behind closed doors, one thing is clear: there are sensitive matters being discussed. And then you're asking yourself, secondly, is it possible that at that meeting, one of the issues that stood out was to say, okay, well, former President Goodluck Jonathan has been there, done that, as they say, so he's not a stranger to Aso Rock. Maybe he can run as the candidate ultimately, while Peter Obi becomes the vice president, presidential candidate, which is even hardly possible because they are from the same region of the country. So give us an insight. What do you think, to the best of your knowledge, that meeting may have been about?
Okay. It was Rotimi Amaechi who said that while they were making effort to make sure that President Goodluck Jonathan was defeated at the poll
in 2015,
yes, the only person that stood for President Goodluck Jonathan was Peter Obi. It was the public domain. It was only Peter Obi, because he believed in Jonathan doing his best, and he was part of the economic team
at that time.
So there is a very close relationship with those two. This is not the first time he's visiting Jonathan or having meetings with Jonathan. This is not the first time. But because the Jonathan name has been placed into the presidential contesting ring, now that became, this particular visit now become very publicly, exposed, as if maybe there was something that yes, they are friends, they talk, they had a good working relationship. So whatever they are discussing is for the interest of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That I can be sure, I can tell you for sure. Because the way the relationship that they've had over the years has proven that. And so if they decide to meet and talk, it's not something strange. For those of us who have been close to them, who have seen them in working together. I was in a program that in Warri where both of them came to a meeting. Nobody snapped the picture or sent it to the world at that time. They were together. In fact, we are the one that went and received President Goodluck Jonathan just recently. So there have been this continuous, harmonious talking point, even before it comes to this particular level. And I don't think politics would, especially in that of the case of Mr. Peter Obi, didn't pick any grudges. When we were just coming back yesterday, he just arrived. And then former governor of Anambra, Rotimi Amaechi, accorded him at the airport. They were throwing banters, they are discussing on how to get Nigeria out of the wood. So you see, that particular coalition in the first beginning was just working together of individual friends who are gladiators, who are saying that, look, we cannot continue in this manner.
So can we say very categorically, as of this moment, as you and I are talking on this show, that Peter Obi has not decided on which platform he's going to run? Is that the case?
No. He is a member of the Labour Party. What makes
the Labour Party is a house divided against itself.
What makes you feel that probably in the next, we are just 2 years away from the election,
But less than 2 years.
The election is not tomorrow. Remember, in less than 6 months, that was when he joined the Labour Party and he got about 6 million votes.
Right.
So within this particular period, what makes you feel that the problem of the Labour Party would have been solved? And if it's not solved, what makes you feel that we cannot go? But at the moment, primarily, he's a member of the Labour Party.
And if Peter Obi were to, I mean, with a big if,
yes,
Peter Obi were to leave the Labour Party,
yes,
is there a guarantee that the Labour movement, I mean, the Nigerian movement, the obedient movement, should go with him altogether, or is there also going to be a crack on that front?
In a diamond, silver, and bronze, if you put them together, I don't know what name we will call them. It's a stamped authority by the obedient movement that anywhere Mr. Peter Obi is going, we are going with him.
Even if he were to join one of the new political parties that INEC will likely register.
I repeat,
wherever he goes.
I repeat, silver, bronze, diamond, gold, and all. Put them together and make them into one valuable. Use it to stamp. Anywhere he's going, we go with him.
All right. Well, that sounds like a herd mentality in the way that makes a lot of sense and is pleasant. But let's come back to you because we started with you.
Yes.
There are people who believe that you are very instrumental in not just the political ambition of Peter Obi, but how you drive the movement behind this political ideology, which is the obedient movement. Talk to us about how there are people who say the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, must have been making overtures to you, maybe come to their fold, trying to find a way to, I mean, worm their way into your heart, sort of. Talk to us about the possibility of that happening and how you have been able to deal with it so far.
Well, some will also say that we are not even trying enough. That is the dynamics of politics. I move in a most unconventional manner. Sometimes you may even see me with my T-shirt and on my jeans getting to a destination, just because I believe in the system. I believe in His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi. In fact, to tell you, I was an IPAC chairman when he was a governor. So I visited him on several occasions. So I've seen the kind of zeal and determination of what he wants to do for the Nigerian people.
As far back as that time?
Yes, and that resonated with me. In fact, when I delivered a message, a message at the Women's Center in Oka, which was not part of all the Igbo extraction there, including the former Ohanaeze president, distinguished Senator Ben Obi, everybody, I declared my support for a Southeastern president, not even knowing that Peter Obi was going to run. And this is the reason why. I'm a Kano man. Proud Kano man. That's why I am. I grew up in Indiaraba. I keep on mentioning it. Some even doubt my paternity because of probably I speak Yoruba, I speak Hausa, a little bit of Igbo, and all of that. So I'm a mix of all this grill. My father's name is Malan Labaran Yunusa. My mother's name is Aishatu Isa. That's her name. She's from Judawa. My father is from Kura local government. This is an established fact. He is of the first sibling, Bagi, Bayi, then Kura. That's his senior sister. That's her name. Then he, Labaran. And my mother said we have Hafsat, we have Aisha, we have Safia, who is about 120 years old. She's in Gusau. So you can. I'm not giving this lineage for those who are doubting
for perspective.
Yes, for you to know. I'm a proud Kano man. In fact, not knowing my future will be this, what I did was that I went to Kaduna Polytechnic. You know, Lagosians, you dressed up in a way, flying and make it look different from your contemporary. So when I came, I was scrutinized for my scholarship. I have my scholarship payments received all from Kano State, all of them. But that is just to tell you my background. And my ideological base are being shaped by Gani Fawehinmi, Balaraba Musa, and Otto Nwankwo. I'm lucky to have had all those particular three different groups. We, as an activist, don't believe in money drive a particular person. We believe that ideology drives us. I believe strongly that a Peter Obi will be a unifier. That's why I'm with him. I keep on telling him one day. I keep on telling him that, look, the moment I see you shifting from that is the day I will leave you, and I'll tell you, sir, I'm leaving.
Because your convention is based on ideology.
Yes. I'm probably they don't believe me, and I'm feeling so strong about it, even as I'm talking to you right now. If I want money or move into a political party or position, I will have done so a long time ago. I don't need it.
So it's still you have come too far to go back.
No. I've gone beyond your imagination. I'm a revolutionary, but within the democratic tenets.
Right.
I have led struggles in this country. I was the field marshal of Save Nigeria Group. Go and check it. I led the Boleshoyin car, Tunde Bakare, and all of them. They were right behind me. I led it.
But I mean, we are wrapping up now, just in 1 minute or less. Why have we not seen such movement again? I mean, this was 2012, for example.
Yes.
Which people also said was against the government of Jonathan.
Exactly. Those one, no. Jonathan was a beneficiary of our struggle. Because at that time, he was somewhere in Villa. They were threatening him because they didn't want the constitution to take precedence. And we insisted that the constitution must take precedence. Edward was sick. Right. Jonathan was supposed to have been handed over. I was the field marshal.
That was when the doctrine of necessity kicked in.
Yes, I was. It's there. It's part of my record. But you see, it's not about an individual. It's about a collective effort. So nobody should start thinking money can finish, but your integrity and name will be. And for me, it makes a meaning. I'm telling you, I've led this particular movement for complete 1 year without any single kobo. This is very important for me.
Right.
Like this kind of movement, somebody will not go into it without you having hundreds of millions of nairas to drive it. But we have done it to this particular level. Some can still query that we have not done enough. But this is the situation. But yet we are everywhere. You are a media man. Can you, in all honesty, tell me that you've not heard of the obedient movement under this particular 1 year?
Of course, it's been everywhere. But again,
so that is it. So the driving force behind it is the ideology of Mr. Peter Obi, driven by convicted Nigerians who believe it's not one man. All of us that were in it have been sacrificed.
It's a collective.
Yes, it's a collective effort. All of us. I don't want to mention them. There are very strong persons who have been working behind the scene and putting all their sacrifices in this particular. They don't eat, they leave their families and all. It is a huge movement beyond one man, even beyond Mr. Peter Obi.
All right, I think we're going to keep tabs on your schedule and see how we can bring you back in here as these developments unfold. That's what we're leaving it with this conversation. Everyone, I've been talking with Dr. Yunusa Tanko, is the national coordinator of the Obedient Movement. It's a very strong movement that has been behind not just the Labour Party, but Mr. Peter Obi. And again, he has said here on Global Television this morning that wherever Mr. Peter Obi goes, the movement goes with him. All right. Again, we'll say thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for having me, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
We appreciate that. That's what we'll leave it everywhere. Remember that all of the newspaper headlines we bring to you here are just as published by their respective publishers, and the views of our guests are also their opinions. On behalf of the entire team here at Global Television, domiciled in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, and of course my colleagues and my co-anchor Priscilla Obasi. We'll say thank you for watching, and here is wishing you the best of the weekend ahead.